I'm right now recording it. I've started. Okay,
Good.
Shivi. Start with the questions. Go, Dr. Kwesi, are you okay with that?
Yes, yes.
Everybody, thank you.
Yeah, okay. So I think it was long overdue because last time I met him, I had sought an interview with him, but it couldn't be possible. And in my wildest imagination, I'd never thought that today and in this form, I would be interviewing him. So I hope you know a little about me, Dr. Kwesi. And if not, then should I be introducing myself to you?
Yes, just introduce yourself.
Hello. Okay. So I am Anu's friend, a very dear friend of, I would say she's a very dear friend of mine. And I edit a magazine called Life Positive. It's a body, mind, spirit magazine. And we mostly, as the name suggests, it's all about lighting the lamp of positivity in your life through focusing on what works. Journalism is only or mostly only carries reports and news about it is not working, what is going wrong. Whereas we in Life Positive, we believe that the energy flows where attention goes. So if you focus on what is working, that area of your life or in our collective life will expand, and which will actually empower people and make them happier and more satisfied, even successful in plenty of their areas of their lives. So basically, it's a spiritual magazine. The foundation and the core of Life Positive is very spiritual, because unless and until you water those spiritual roots, we do not believe that you will achieve the state of holistic happiness in your life.
Thank you.
So let me just proceed with the about your life journey, like where it all began and how did you finally reach the stage of becoming the Dr. Kwesi. Your roots, your origin, where were you brought up, where you studied, how you ventured into this field of meta medicine, how it has changed your life. And so I'm trying to kind of give you a rough idea of what I'm expecting from your answers.
Okay. Yes, so I'm a German-trained eye doctor. I was born in Germany in the university town of Heidelberg. And my father, he came from Ghana. He left Ghana in 1961 to study medicine in Germany. And that's where I was born. My mother then later followed him from Ghana to Germany. And my father influenced me a lot, being a doctor in the 60s and 70s in Germany, where racism was very, very strong. He was always my idol. I always looked up to him because he was a very strong personality. He was an educated man. He was a kind man, and he was caring for other people. So doctor was not a job for him, it was a profession. And my father married again, and my German mother was also a medical doctor. And when they completed their medical training, the family went to Ghana. So I lived in Ghana then at the age from 5 to 6. And I always say that was the best time of my childhood, because it was just, we had so much freedom being in nature. It was just amazing, completely different to Germany. And because in Ghana, the political situation got bad, there was a military coup, then my father said, this is not a nice environment for children to grow up. So we went back to Germany. And my father said, I got a scholarship from the Ghanaian government to serve the people as a medical doctor. I will fulfill this duty, but first I'll take care of my children. When they have all finished school, then I'll go back to Ghana. And that's what he did. So in 1988, when my sister, the youngest, finished her school, then he went back to Ghana. And at that time, I was already in medical school. So for me, it was very clear at the beginning of my life that I will become a medical doctor. And I just didn't know what kind of doctor, which subject, but there were 6-7 years to find out. And at the end, I choose to become an eye doctor because I love the eyes. And Dr. Archner just mentioned the light. And with the eyes, we perceive the light. And I found the eyes fascinating. And it was a small yeah, only 2 eyes, and it was clear what it's about. And when we do the doctor rounds in the hospital, you don't have to walk around to the patients' rooms. The patients have to come to you. You are just sitting there relaxed with your slit lamp. So I really enjoyed that. And then I chose to become an eye doctor. And part of my training I did in my last year at medical school, I did 3 months practical in Ghana. And I studied medicine because my intention was to go and live in Ghana. And then these 3 months that I stayed in Ghana at that time in 1990 were shocking for me because the situation was very severe, a lot of mismanagement, not many resources for the Ministry of Health, and I couldn't cope with it. And I realized that I'm more European than Ghanaian. And I told my father, at the moment, I can't think of working as a doctor in Ghana. So he was a bit sad and disappointed, but he accepted it. So then I continued my training in Germany, became an eye doctor, and I just learned traditional medicine. But I was always asking myself, what is the cause of the disease? And I was never really satisfied with what I learned at medical school. But because it's so intensive, there was hardly time at that time for me to study besides that. So, and when I had my own first clinic in 2004, then I had more time because it was routine work. I saw patients more often, and then I asked them, what has happened in your life that suddenly you got cataract? And all of them were saying the same story. Oh, I lost my partner, my spouse. Oh, the children have left the house and are studying now 100 kilometers away. So then I said, wow, this sounds similar. So there must be a pattern. And I looked in the internet and I found new German medicine. And then I did some more research and I found a lot of anti-Semitic politics connected to this new German medicine from Dr. Hammer, and I didn't like that. Racism of any kind of art is something I absolutely condemn. So on the one side, the medical information was good. The political aspect of it, I didn't like it, so I didn't go for it. But then I got a newsletter, and sometimes I read it, and then there was a newsletter saying that there is a lecture just 10 kilometers from where I was living. I said, okay, let's give it a try. So I went there, listened to it. The medical information was brilliant because the first time I really got to understand what is the cause of disease and not just only the symptoms and then how to deal with the symptoms. So that was a completely shift of paradigm for me. It really opened my eyes. And then I went to the workshops. And in that workshop, there was one woman who said, yes, there is new medicine, but there's also meta-medicine from Dr. Bader. So when I went back, then I did research in the internet, found about Dr. Bader. Dr. Anton Bader found about meta-medicine, and I said, wow, they are more international, they are more open, there's no politics with it. So then I started the training with meta-medicine. So that's how I came to meta-medicine, now called meta-health.
Great. So that's also a very interesting life journey which you've just shared, Dr. Kwesi. Acha, you just said that your father had gone from Ghana to Germany, and then again when you came back to Ghana, you felt that there was the best years of your childhood. Did you feel that kind of a culture shock where a person of the Ghana origin goes to Germany, which is totally different culturally, ethnically, and how even color wise? So did you find it difficult to adjust over here? What was, and you also did agree that at that time racism was at peak over there. So
Well,
how did it affect your childhood and even your parents and their life? Being living in Germany at a time when the conditions were not ideal for everybody.
it was very shocking. I myself was born in Germany, and my father in Ghana. So when my father came to Ghana, he studied to Germany. He studied medicine. And what he really wanted to do was he wanted to study theology. He was in the Methodist Church. He was a lay pastor, But at that time, for the development of the country, they needed doctors, engineers, lawyers. So then my father decided to study medicine. And when he came to Germany, every Sunday he went to the Protestant church. And the fifth or sixth time he went there, the priest came to him, took him aside and spoke to him and told him, look, yes, I see you're coming every Sunday, but I just want to tell you, please don't come anymore. My father asked why. Yeah, the white people don't want you here. So this is only for the white people. So from that time, he never talked about God anymore, and he did lose all his trust in the Christian religion. And we didn't grow up in a Christian environment because my father said this is not authentic, to use that word, out of integrity. So that was a complete shock for my father, and that's also why he never felt at home in Germany. And also because he made a promise that when he finished his studies, he got a scholarship from the government, he's going back to Ghana. With my mother, it was so that when she came to Germany, she came 2 years later than my father. She came, I think, in 63, 64. For her, it was a complete shock because motherhood is something that is very, very precious in Ghana, like in most African countries. And just to be a mother in Germany was something that was not acknowledged at all.
Was not encouraged.
And she,
okay.
Not acknowledged.
Not acknowledged.
Yeah, and she never overcame that cultural shock for her, so that the relationship with her father didn't work. On the one side, there were personal issues, but on the other side, she couldn't cope with life in Germany, so they separated, and she went to London and lived in London, where there was a huge community of Africans where she could cope. So she couldn't live in Germany. Yeah, so that was that tore our family apart. Yeah.
You were born in Germany, even though
I
your
was born in
parents.
Germany.
You were
Yes.
born in Germany, even though your parents were of African origin. Yet, did
Yes.
did you find the kind of acceptance in Germany which they could not, simply because you were born and you're not like born in Ghana? Your citizenry was German.
Well, I was not a German citizen. You know, in Germany, it's still the blood that counts, and not like in the US or in other countries, the area where you're born. So I had a Ghanaian passport. I later applied for German passport during my studies. And it was in that areas in the 60s, 70s, and also 80s, it was very, very tough in Germany. I'll give you one example. When I went to study at the Baltic Sea at Kiel University, I phoned and I speak German without any accent. Some friends even say I speak better German than most of the Germans, the white Germans. So when I phoned, I said, yeah, can I have a look at your room? Okay, I went there. And then when I went there and they saw that this is a black man, oh no, the room is not free anymore. Yeah, but it was still free. It was just that the lady didn't want any black person. And when I'm on the phone, I'm being accepted. When I'm in my doctor's suit, I'm being accepted. And as soon as I was out of this role, and then I experienced racism. So that was very, very tough. And my way to, I wouldn't say to be at peace with that. As a teenager, you hardly are at peace. So, but to cope with it was to compensate it on the one side with my intellect. So I was good at school, and also I was good at sports, and of course with the family. I had my father who had a job, who was a medical doctor. Then I had and our family was multicolored. My German mother was white, and my father and my German mother, they had a child. So we had all color in our family. And for us, we didn't understand that people could have prejudices. It was not understandable for us. So the family was our foundation, my siblings, my father, my German mother, and also the family in Ghana. And I was compensating it with being good at sport and being good at school, and especially sport. I loved it, to play football, because there I could give it back to them. Yeah, so that was what
Do you feel that over the years, the sting of racism has lessened? People are not as racist as they used to be because there's greater awareness about this menace, which has affected the world on a very large scale. do you ever feel like when you travel across countries that that kind of treatment is not meted out to you because of your skin color, which was done earlier?
Um, it's very interesting that there is an up and down in between the years that I have experienced. I want to give you one example. The first time I went to India was when Nelson Mandela was released. I don't know if it was 90 or 91. And I was invited from a friend from Mumbai. She and her German partner, they got married. A traditional Hindi marriage in Mumbai. And then we all went together by bus from Mumbai to Goa for the honeymoon. I will never forget this bus trip. And then I myself took a plane to Kerala, Trivandrum, just to explore the region a bit. And I was on the backwaters doing a trip on a boat, and there were some fishermen. They saw me, they were waving, and they were saying, Mandela, Mandela. Yeah.
Wow.
So many people at the beach in Kerala approached me, spoke to me, and said, oh yeah, Ghana, Nehru and Kwame Nkrumah, they were friends, and we are so honored that we are now the first country that Nelson Mandela is visiting since he's become president. Something like this, I have never experienced it in Germany, and I've never experienced something like this in another country wherever I have traveled. And so there are positive experiences that I have, and there are also negative experiences that I have. And when we look at it from the meta perspective, what is behind racism? It's a mental disorder. Yeah, it's completely irrational because there's only one human race. If we wouldn't be one race, then we couldn't how can you say that?
Interracial marriages and have children out of them.
Exactly, yes, exactly. Yeah. So that wouldn't work. And everybody who knows biology knows that the term race, what it means. So it's absolutely irrational, and it's incredible what is happening because of this. And that's maybe also why I love India so much, because the experience that I had when I first came to India was just amazing. Yeah, because they saw me as a person, and they were interested, where do I come from? And then they were asking just because they wanted to know. A lot of them didn't have the opportunity to travel, so they were just happy to meet other people with whom they can share and also learn something from their experiences. So that really I found amazing. And when we look at right now what is happening with COVID-19, the borders being closed, a lot of nationalism, chauvinism, xenophobia in a lot of countries rising up again. I live in the UK right now. There is the Brexit, and it looks like it's going to be a hard Brexit. So I wouldn't say that I'm a bit worried, but I am aware that things are getting tougher than they were 10 years ago. It's getting more severe when it comes to racism. Also in Germany, a right-wing party is now in the parliament, and a lot of incidents have happened, attacks against people with immigration background. Maybe some of you have seen what's happening in the US again, with this video about African Americans who have been murdered by men in police uniform.
The rage against that murder is not limited only to black people. Even the whites are very, very outraged by this incident, and they are demanding justice for this murdered man. So I consider that this is a positive sign, that if such an incident can shake up a white man's soul and make him look within himself to see what is the origin of this discrimination which they have against others, I think they might, come to this realization that just you cannot become superior on the basis of your on the basis of the color of your skin, and this is no parameter at all. And I think it's a part of their expansionist tendencies, I would say, because the people like from the East, especially countries like India and Africa, we are very rooted to the earth. We are very happy and comfortable with where we are. So we don't have that urge to go out and prove our worth and conquer this or that. So we are pretty happy people. So whereas that race is, kind of not very settled. It wants to just go out and conquer and, establish the fact that they are superior, loot. So, and when they are able to conquer, then they feel that they are superior. Whereas having this kind of tendency is a mark of you not being in touch with yourself. That you want something external to prove to yourself that you are important or big or great.
Yes, and
So
if
this
we
is
look at if we look back,
this is what I perceive, that why is it that you are not happy with where you are? And just because we are happy, we are settled, we are comfortable, you feel that you can just come from outside and enslave us and, establish your rule over us. So it's...
so that's why I have a vision. So my vision is, I mean, I've got a German training, I've got a German, you can even say German education, not you can say, I'm educated in Germany. Most of my life I stayed in Germany. Now I'm living in the UK with my partner, Joanne, and our baby boy, Kweku, and she's also on the call, and I really also want to acknowledge her for being at that we are together and that we've got a child together, because that's also something that's giving me that is giving me strength now in these times when things are really looking like they're falling apart in all aspects of life. And we've been separated since March because they are in the UK, I'm in Germany, and we're just looking forward when we can meet again. And my vision is, because I studied medicine, because my vision was to work in Ghana. And somehow in between the line, I forgot my vision about it, because the situation in Ghana was so severe, and I saw how my father was struggling in this system and trying his best. And after 30 years being in Ghana and dealing with these challenging situations, he had a kidney failure, and then half a year after that, he passed away. So I really saw how severe it can get. And that reminded me of my own intention. Why did you study medicine? Because I wanted to become a doctor and work in Ghana. And I haven't had a workshop with MetaVision with META-Health up to now in Ghana, because I wanted to do it with my father and it didn't work out. And now I have told myself 2021, I'm going to have a workshop with MetaVision in Ghana. And I've invited our Honorable Anu to join me so that we have it together. And so I'm going back to my roots when it comes to why did I study medicine? Yeah, because I've learned so much from the people in India, especially. The way they are dealing with these challenging circumstances, and you can compare a lot of the circumstances to the ones in Ghana, and especially the homeopathic doctors, because homeopathy is, first of all, it works. It goes to the core, to the source. It goes to the personality and not to the symptoms. And the way the Indian doctors have got experience how to approach different aspects of diseases, symptoms, it's just amazing. And because at the beginning, Anu said that people in India are not used to being acknowledged. When I first approached the homeopathic doctors that let's have a session, and I shared with them how amazed I am and what high regard the whole world has for homeopathic doctors in India, they seemed shocked when I shared that with them. They seemed so humble, and I didn't know that it's so not used for people in India to be acknowledged. Yeah,
that's
because
true. We reserve our regard only for a select group of people. So if you are an allopathic doctor, no matter how many cases you've washed up, you will be looked up to by all the sections of society. If you are a film star, you're a sports star, even if you're a politician, you will be like lauded wherever you go. Whereas if you are a person who's who provides the essentials, who does those basic services, for example, somebody comes to pick up your trash, or somebody who cleans your roads, or the one who works for helps you in your home. So we do not tend to regard them with the same amount of respect which we do for other people. Whereas the fact of the matter is that we cannot even imagine our life without these people, the people who are doing simple things for us. So I hope that this lockdown will really open the eyes of people to this fact that we go on worshipping false gods, and it shows that how little respect we have for ourselves. That anybody who dazzles our eyes is, who feels that they have done something which we could not have done. Yeah, we will go all out to uh, adulate them, or really doff our hats to them. Whereas those ordinary people who are so meaningful for us, who we cannot imagine our lives without, we just don't give them the kind of respect and attention which they deserve. I do hope, we even our children, our parents, our spouses, they are so integral to our lives, but we have a habit of taking them for granted and always valuing outsiders instead of the ones who are there for us. And perhaps it is a global thing. It may not be confined only to India. But I think we generally wake up only when we've lost something which is so important to us. I've seen that people will mourn the loss of their very near and dear ones, whom they will treated all their lives after they've gone away. Then they will wake up. So that's a sorry state of affairs. And what I've seen is that only like when others were sharing about their life experiences over here, I did realize that there's so much of thirst to be validated, to be appreciated and loved and acknowledged by our near ones, and we just don't get it. And so it sends us to such depths of depression, makes us feel so lonely. And it is such a simple thing to do. Which film star or sports star will ever come to our aid? But are these people who don't look that glamorous are always there for us? And but it is a fact. We somehow we are always impressed by something which glitters and not which is actually the goal. Anyways, let's come to the second. The third question. Um, so, what made you decide to become an eye doctor? I mean, you just did say that the eyes help you see, but I think there must be a deeper reason to choosing eye as your subject of specialization in med school.
Well, there might be a deeper cause, but I'll just tell you why at the beginning, without knowing the deeper cause, I choose it. So when my father left to Ghana in 1988, I was still at medical school. And at that time, my father was funding my studies. So when he left, I started working in the hospitals on night shifts as a student. And then in the night shift and daytime studying, and sometimes I was too tired, so I missed some classes, but you were allowed to miss 2 classes in each course. So, and one night I worked again, and in the morning I overslept, and that I would have missed the 3rd time in the eye course. And then I would have had to repeat it again. So I was just living not far from the university clinic, so I was sleeping, and then suddenly doorbell was ringing. Then I went to the door, and there were 2 of my colleagues from university, and they said, "Oh yeah, the doctor who's running the eye course sent us, and he said you should come, otherwise you will miss the 3rd course, and then you have to do it again." And I said, "Wow, this guy really cares about me." And that also made me think, wow, he's a nice guy, and the subject is also nice, so maybe I should do eyes. So that's why I choose to become an eye doctor. And then later, what I found out is that now it gets very interesting, because observing my colleagues and myself, I discovered that doctors specialize on where they have got their blind spot. Yeah, where they've got their weakest point. I know heart surgeons who are absolutely heartless. I know gynecologists who hate women. Yeah, I know dermatologists who don't feel well in their own skin. And then I asked myself, and why did you become an eye doctor? What are you blind about? Yeah. And it's very interesting that it just maybe some few years ago that I discovered for myself what I did not see. I was always looking for what is the methodology or the technology that we need to be at peace and to heal ourselves. Till I got it that we do not need anything. We are whole, complete, and perfect. If we fully accept ourselves and see that we are not only biological beings, but that we are your life positive is your magazine. You said it's spiritual. If we identify ourselves as spiritual beings, then we can discover the full regenerative potential within ourselves. And I believe that all we need is to be ourselves, and then we can also heal ourselves. And everything that we are using, that it be some technology or some methodology, is just instrumental. It might maybe take 10, maybe 15,000 years before we have reached this fully potential, but it's there. And that's what I believe. And since working with this, I have experienced myself that there are things that where I get symptoms, and when I find out what's behind it, then they can go away very, very fast. So Anu said that she was not authentic when she goes to the calls, and with me it's the same. I have been assisting so many people, also family in Ghana in the last weeks, and then having the webinars, and then also working in the eye clinic 8 hours a day, that in the last 2 weeks, I was really exhausted. I was very, very exhausted because I realized, wow, you've been doing too much again. You've been doing, when I was not working because of COVID-19, I was even more in webinars, coaching clients and supporting friends and family. And now I started working again, and I'm still doing that, and I'm not resting. So I really got it, it's too much. And I felt completely overwhelmed. And I got symptoms of overwhelm in my body. From META-Health, you know that the heart is being affected. And then I said, wow, now I really have to stop because I start getting symptoms. Yeah. And then I got so tired and I just rested. In the past, I would have continued. Yeah. And I would have just continued and continued. And this time I said, even so, I like to join the Indian community at 6 p.m. German time. I can't do it now. I need to rest. So I just came home, slept and rested. And then the symptoms almost went away. Yeah. Or other symptoms. My good friend, Dr. Anton Bada, he's my mentor. He was my master trainer. And when I was working in another town, not far from his, I used to meet him 2-3 times. And one time I shared something with him, and he was the first one who understood what I wanted to share. Sometimes I've got this specialist syndrome, and it's challenging for me to express things in simple words so that people get it. Anu knows what I'm talking about. So, and then suddenly I got asthma symptoms. And then he said, what's wrong with you? The way you're breathing. I said, oh, now I know that you are saying that, where I got it from. I was with anger that I tried to share things and nobody got it. And you were the first person who got it, what I said. And now I've got symptoms with my lung, that is the anger in the lungs and the constriction of the bronchi. And just when I mentioned it to him, the symptoms went away. So the more I'm sensitive and the more I get aware what are the symptoms about, they go away. Another example, the last time I could travel was, I went to Belgium and I ate some egg for breakfast. And the egg really didn't look nice, but I still ate it, scrambled egg. And then one other delegate from the workshop came and said, what are you eating? And I said, oh, it's egg. It doesn't look like it and it doesn't taste like it. After saying that, my lips started to tingle. And it was beginning as if I'm getting a herpes. And then I said, oh, why do you get this now? And I said, oh, because you didn't acknowledge the egg. You despised it, yeah? You said, it doesn't look nice, it doesn't taste nice. So I just said, okay, I acknowledge the food that I ate, and it went away. Yeah, so I think the more awareness we have and the more we get aware of the beginning of the symptoms, the less it can impact us. And I think that's what I was blind about. And that's why I became an eye doctor, to see this, that all we need is ourselves. Are you still there? Hello?
Are you still there, Shivi?
That's a great
Hello?
realization. Yeah. I said, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah. My mic is on. My video is also on. So, I mean, so do you believe in the spiritual reason for physical ailments? And has your study introduced you to the world of spirituality, better health? Because you just said that. It's, all we need is ourselves, and it's you basically choose to being an eye doctor simply because you wanted to look at everything. I mean, your inner soul, which sees everything in a very integrated form. So has your health, and then seeing the overall interlocking design of every thing which affects human beings. So has it also introduced you to the world of pure spirituality, where people just take straight strides into the inner world, through meditation, knowing yourself? Maybe there are plenty of aspects. So have you taken that up as well in all seriousness?
Yes, I have. It took a long time, as I told you, because first I was blind about this and I was just looking in technology and methodologies. And maybe it started, when it seriously started, was in India again. And again, it's linked with Anu. It was in 2015 when I gave the first workshop in India. And there was, on the workshop was a delegate from Pune. And I said, oh, Pune, isn't that where Osho has got his, where there is the Osho Center? She said, yes. And I said, oh, I don't know anything about him. I just know as a kid, he was on the cover of a magazine and he was driving in his Rolls Royce. And the people from all over the world, Westerners, came and were working for him. And that impressed me. So I didn't know, I haven't read anything about Osho. I just knew that he's in Pune. And then I went there. Yeah, so just for half a day, because the next time my flight was flying, and even the people where we paid, they said, what, you want to pay all that money just for half a day? Are you really sure? They asked us 3 times, and I said, yes, I'm sure. So we went there, and Anu and we wanted to go to meditation, and we came 1 minute late and the door was locked. They were very strict with that. So then we just sat down at the pool. We've got a nice pool, and I was sitting there, and just maybe for, I don't know how long it was, I was at complete peace. I felt as if I was full of joy, love, and peace. And I said, wow, I've never experienced that before. So the next day my flight was going, so I was sleeping. I was staying with Anu and their family. And in the night, I was lying in the bed, and suddenly I felt an earthquake. And I said, okay.
What did you feel?
Out of the window,
you felt that? Okay.
An earthquake. The bed was shaking.
Okay.
The house was shaking. So I looked out of the window. Nobody was reacting. I looked on the internet. Nobody was reacting. I didn't know, should I wake Anu's husband and ask them? And I said, okay, if there's nothing, maybe I'm just very sensitive and I sensed it. So I didn't say anything. The next morning when Anu was there and Doreen came, I asked him, hey guys, did you also feel the earthquake? And they looked at me and said, what's wrong with this guy? so then I just left that topic, and I took the flight from London. At that time I was living in Germany, and in London Heathrow, I had to change to Frankfurt. And suddenly I was sitting there waiting for my flight, and then the earth was shaking again. And then I got it, wow, this is an inner earthquake. And this just seconds of silence and complete peace, love, and joy that I experienced was shaking up all my fixed beliefs. Because at that time there was the decision, should I in the clinic again, or should I continue just doing workshops and traveling the world? And at this inner earthquake was an answer for me, was a wake-up call to really go into spirituality, because that is what is really shaking up everything and it's breaking down things, and that's all what's needed. So that was an experience that I had at Osho that was just amazing. And since then I'm thirsty, I'm addicted to this feeling that I had, and it might have just been for seconds, but I will never forget it, and that's now what I'm longing for, what I'm looking for.
Well, Anu, you can always invite Dr. Kwesi to the session we are having tomorrow. And Dr. Kwesi, again, it's an online session, but I'll let you take this opportunity to inform you about it. So it's a 2-hour session. I don't know what will be the German time, but from 4 to 6 in the evening, India time. So there is, a direct transfer of spiritual energy to all the participants. And I'm a direct beneficiary and I experience this firsthand. So the experience which you had of deep bliss and peace, it becomes your constant companion after this. So it is so magical. It is out of this world. And I would really request you that now that you experienced it and you want to experience it more, so please, I've shared the details in that group. I would really request you with folded hands to please not let go of this amazing opportunity, and it will open the doors which had heretofore been closed. I mean, there are plenty of reasons where certain your own maybe belief systems can come in the way when you are, but everything will be you will feel held and supported like never before, and peace will definitely become a part of your life. So I would, and it's not only like it's only one aspect. For every individual who joins it, he comes back with a different set of experiences. So it may be the underlying experience can be of peace, but the other experiences can vary, and they will also be very, very delightful.
Yes, so thank you very much. That's very interesting.
So I would request. Anyways, let me just. This was of the. See, how has the current situation, the worldwide pandemic, affected your thinking process? How has it changed you as an individual, as a doctor?
Well, that's a very good question. First of all, well, I see it from different aspects, and that's also where I want to acknowledge the whole group and Anu who created this, that we are looking at it from different angles so that we can have a 360-degree view about COVID. And how I see it, well, as a medical doctor, it's not clear for me. On the one side, I myself say that I know how to, I wouldn't even say protect myself, but to be myself so that I am somehow, I wouldn't say immune, but even if I would get symptoms, I would know that they might not be severe. On the other side, I know that thousands of people are dying. Yeah, and if you look at the USA, they have now reached 100,000 people, but we don't know if all of them were really COVID positive. But a lot of them who are dying are from the African American community. So that's what's, and then also in the UK, it's the same. And the probability that you might die due to COVID-19 is double as high with people from African origin than the white people in the UK. And that's the question where I'm asking myself, what is behind it? There might be different aspects of that, but I take it serious. And even so, we've got a different perspective when it comes to virus from META-Health, but people have symptoms. And one of our members in Egypt, Mohammed Essa, he discovered that people who have got issues with self-esteem, they might be more open to get severe symptoms and to suffer from COVID-19. So, and as a medical doctor, I would have never thought that we would have a situation where we would have a pandemic with a so-called virus that hardly or only impacts maybe 20% of the people. I could never imagine that something like a lockdown on the whole continent, on the whole planet, would be possible. So that's something where I also realized that anything is possible, and I'm still shocked about how the politicians are listening to experts who hardly have any clinical experience. In Germany, we would call it the German CDC, the Robert Koch Institute, the chief medical officer, the virologist. He is somebody who is a scientist, but who hardly has worked with patients. And they're listening to them and not to the doctors who experience the daily life with the patients and can give a feedback. So that's also where I am surprised that they are not being asked and not being integrated in the decision making. On the other side, to make
why do you think it is happening like this? What could be the reason that they are ignoring the doctors who have a first-hand experience with working with the patients?
Well, Anu mentioned authenticity, so I'm now absolutely honest. I think because it has to be, because whole humankind has to learn a lesson. We are not being authentic. We are not treating Mother Nature with respect. We are destroying our environment. And we are in a, as we just mentioned before, that some ethnic groups, it's just for expansion and just money. So we are living in a culture where time is money. Yeah. And this has to stop. Otherwise, we are destroying ourselves. And I think that it's something that is meant to be. And COVID-19 is just instrumental and creating this space where now we are having the opportunity to learn and to be more with ourselves. And if you look how nature has been recovering when the whole world economy, the industry has been shut down. Anu said there are dolphins in the front of the coast of Mumbai. In Venice, you've got fish again, yeah, because there are no tourists, and so on and so on. So for nature, it's beneficial, yeah, and nature is our foundation. And I think the biggest lesson for us is we have to stop how we are exploiting the planet, Mother Earth, and how we are exploiting ourselves. And we have to create new ways of societies of living together. Yeah, so that's, I think that's a wake-up call for all of us.
Great. You also indulge in astromedicine. So what is astromedicine, doctor? Like, is it like linking, can you rather be shedding light on it?
Well, when we look at META-Health, we have a deep understanding of the so-called conflict that is behind a symptom or disease. But with that alone, we cannot explain why is that person getting the symptoms now. Yeah, because 10 people might experience the same shocking incident. And first of all, not everybody will get symptoms. And one might get symptoms in one organ, the other one in another organ. So there must be some kind of predisposition. So with astromedicine, we can discover the patterns of experience, the predisposition. Yeah, what experience might trigger which disease? So this can be seen in the horoscope. And the very interesting thing is that Western astrology and Vedic Indian astrology are different. They're not the same because they use a different calculation. And I never understood Vedic astrology. And now due to the lockdown, I was invited to join with Dr. Patil's group, and I started learning about Vedic astrology, and it was, for me, again, something completely new that broke down some of my beliefs that I had, because it's a different way of calculation, and it shows something else that we can't see in Western astrology.
Like, for example?
The ascendant.
Okay.
I've forgotten how you call Lagna. I think it's Lagna in Vedic astrology.
Lagna.
Yeah. So my Lagna In Western astrology, it's Sagittarius. In Vedic astrology, it's Scorpio. And those of you who know astrology know the one is fire, the other one is water. Completely different. And that absolutely confused me, because I asked myself, okay, what does it mean? Which one is right and which one is wrong? Or can you even say right or wrong? Or is both accurate and it's just showing different parts of my being? Yeah. So that I found very, very interesting. And then I created a theory. And the theory is that we've got different astrologies in different areas of the world, and maybe each of them is accurate, but they're showing different aspects of ourselves. You know that there is this yogic system of the 5 bodies. Yeah. I don't know the Hindu name for the bodies, but you've got the physical body, you've got the emotional body, then you've got the mental body.
Annamay Kosh, Pranamay Kosh, Gyanamay Kosh.
So what I have now, exactly. So what I am now doing, and that's some research, I think that each of the different astrologies shows what pattern is in a different body. And because India is, I call India the land of karma. Yeah?
Karma or karma?
Karma.
Karma.
Yeah. And so for me, Vedic astrology shows something about our karma. And Western astrology shows more about the material aspect, because they are more focused on matter. And 64 keys, what some of you mentioned before, is all about the mind. So that would be the mental body. So now I'm working with the system where I'm working with the different kinds of astrology, which have an aspect on a different level of our body. And with the
how much success have you achieved through this form of medicine, where you link a person's astrological chart with your own mode of treatment?
I can now understand why people get symptoms. So it has expanded my understanding of META-Health. And the challenge is that most clients approach us when they've already got symptoms. And my vision is preventive medicine. If you know your birth time, and because in India, astrology is something, Vedic astrology, which is rooted in your culture, most people know the birth time more than in Western countries. If you know your birth time and you can calculate, or you can make a chart, then you can see where you're vulnerable. And you can even know when things step into your life, which experience. How you respond to it, that's not predestined. That is up to your way, how you deal with things. But at least you know, now I'm going to have an experience that has to do, let's say, with overwhelm. Yeah? Or now I've got an experience that has to do with an aspect where I might be isolated. For example, in 64 keys, it could be seen that this year is all about being at peace, being at home. Yeah. And when you know that, you can prepare for that. Yeah. So the challenge is when people come when they already have symptoms, and when all they want is just to get rid of the symptoms, but they don't want to look at the bigger picture. And I have no experience that I'm not accepting clients who only want to get rid of the symptoms anymore, because that's not how I work with myself, and that's also not how I want to work with clients. If clients want to discover what is behind it on the different levels, and what possibilities can I create in my life, and then the physical symptoms might be altered by that. Yeah. So that's how I'm working. So it's expanded my way of understanding and giving more sense, and even telling people in advance what might happen. I remember I told Anu some things about a person, what will happen maybe that time of the year, and it was accurate. Yeah, so you can make predictions, what steps in your life, not what happens, but what experience you're going to make at a certain time of your life. That's what you can predict. How they deal with that experience that steps into their life, and that's open. Yeah. So and I work with clients and I always ask them for the time of their birth. And if people don't have the time of the birth, what happens very often in Africa, Ghana, for example, then I can still work with astrology, because let's say somebody has a question. I've got pain in my liver. Where does it come from? And the person hasn't got his birth date. Then I work with horary astrology. That means the time the person asks the question, and I understand the question as the astrologer, that's the time I work with. Yeah. So there's always a possibility to work with time. If the best time is not known, then horary astrology. And I'm not even going in that direction, that horary astrology, working with the time, either the person first experienced the symptom, or the person asks the question, what is my disease, my symptom about? That's what I'm working with, because that's more accurate, because that's what's happening right now. So astrology time for me is a very important aspect to understand not only the disease process, but also to make a prognosis and also to find a solution, what can be done.
Wow. So,
Okay, one last question I'd like to ask before we close. That do you have I know, Dr. Kwesi, one experience with a patient which totally, you and you were blown away by it, and it was very groundbreaking for you, which you had not even imagined that you would get such a result, and it blew you away. Anything, especially through META-Health?
Yes. And then we come to another thing, that is the power of language. I was once in Norway. I was invited to run a workshop, and then I also had clients. And there was one lady who had severe neurodermitis, eczema of the skin. And we know that's loss of contact. And she tried a lot of things. She herself was a health practitioner in Norway, and it didn't go away. And then I asked questions about her relationship, and it was clear she was not in a relationship, but there was still somebody who wanted to be together with her, an ex-friend, and she was not quite clear what she should do. Then we went through the coaching process, and then she got the answer for herself. And then I said, okay, then all that you need to do now, or not, I didn't say what you need to do, now get in communication and clear the situation with the man by being in communication. She did that, and just by being in communication without any medicine and being clear about the relation, the skin symptoms went away. Yeah. So that's why I say that that is all what we need, the consciousness, and then being in communication. I didn't mention communication before, because everything arises in communication. Yeah, in the Christian Bible, and now getting back to you, Anu, the Indians are not the biggest copywriters. The biggest copywriters are the Christians with the Bible. If you look at it, it comes from everywhere. It comes from Buddha with the Buddha's birth, from the Virgin. It comes from ancient Egyptian religion. It comes from everywhere. Yeah, so they're the biggest copywriters, the Christians. And in the Christian Bible, it's written, in the beginning was the Word. Yeah, so that's why words are very, very powerful. And the Russian School of Psychology did a lot of experiments in the 20th century. In the 1957, Platonov, who was a student of Pavlov, published a book which is called The Word as a Physiological and Therapeutic Factor, because they also discovered that with words, people could get symptoms, and with words, people could heal. Yeah.
wow.
So words are very, very powerful. And if we walk our talk, if we're in authenticity and in integrity, then the word becomes the law in our universe. And then also our body is following what we are thinking and what we are saying. We're doing it on an unconscious level. Oh, I'm feeling bad because this happened, and then we get symptoms. And it can also function in the other way, but then it's conscious. Yeah, and that's why the work that you are doing with Life Positive, and when you said you want to have positive journalism, that's very, very important. And to go back to the question, what do I think about COVID-19? we only exist in networks of communication. We exist because people are communicating about us and we are communicating about others. And COVID-19 still exists because we are communicating about it. And not in a positive way, in a very negative way. Yeah? So I don't think we need anything that we need all to get immunized. What we need is to have consciousness about why is it here, what's the impact on us and the environment, and then to communicate with it, about it, in an acknowledging way. Yeah? And the words that are being used by the press are so destructive. I'm not saying positive or negative, I'm saying destructive. My own brother, he's a journalist, and he himself says the way the whole world is communicating about COVID-19 is a disaster. It's absolutely destructive. Yeah? And that's making a lot of people ill because it's creating fear.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful Q&A session with you.
Thank you.
I'm very thankful to you for your very in-depth answers.